Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. We are reacting to the fight that took place earlier today or yesterday, depending when you're watching this, between the monster Naoya Inoue and MJ Akmadaliev. A very straightforward, some may say, convincing victory for Naoya Inoue, an unanimous decision, only dropped a couple of rounds. Danny, we'll start off with the fight. What did you think of the fight? Was it kind of what you expected? Because in some ways, people expected Inoue to always win by stoppage. That didn't happen, and people expected it to be a competitive fight, and I'm not convinced it was really. What were your thoughts on it?
No, it wasn't a competitive fight. I think even some of the scorecards that were wide wins for Naoya Inoue were actually quite flattering to the work of Murodjon Akmadaliev. My prediction for the fight was that Inoue would stop him. However, I did say to someone in a WhatsApp conversation that if Akmadaliev wants to just survive, he'll be good enough to just do that. I didn't think he would. I thought he would come with more ambition, but I think he got a taste of the power, taste of the speed. Occasion maybe got to him, and he decided, you know what, I'm gonna not jack it in, but I'm gonna be very defensively responsible. I'm not gonna trade up with this guy, and then you sort of lose his chance of winning the fight, and then at the he did still hurt Akmadaliev a few times, but Akmadaliev, a very good fighter, very extensive amateur career, and was able to cover up enough to see the final bell. But it was one-way traffic, as you quite rightly say.
Yeah, look, I think I don't know if we're kind of talking about the same group here, but I was in a group where someone said if it had been 120, 108 on all three scorecards, I don't think many people would have complained. We're not going to make it too much about Akhmadaliev, but it is disappointing. And I feel like for some of us who stayed up until the very early hours last night to watch Canelo Crawford, to not have much sleep, to then watch a fight we were hoping was going to be competitive, was going to be a good fight, we were going to see possibly another upset, to then to then see such a one-sided fight was a bit disappointing. I want to talk to you about Inoue, Danny, because it feels like we're possibly in the grander stages of his career now. He could possibly only have another three, maybe four fights left. He is scheduled to fight David Picasso on the 27th of December. In a fight he is expected to win. You never know, but he is expected to win that. And there was a back and forth between him and Junto Nakatani in the arena in Nagoya. I want to get your opinion on that, Danny, because that's going to be one of the biggest fights to take place in 2026. If it does, it would be really exciting. But at this stage, do you think Nakatani is best placed to be actually the guy to beat Inoue? Do you give him a chance of doing that?
In terms of fights that could take place at 122 pounds, then yes, I would say definitely. I think Akmadaliev was probably up there as best placed for the fighters currently at 122. We've done a few videos talking about this potential Nakatani fight over the last few months, and I've been saying I'm picking Nakatani to beat him. And I'm just today actually, I was just starting to wonder, so maybe getting a bit carried away, a bit gung ho. Inoue was dropped by two southpaws in Luis Neri and Ramon Cardenas, and Nakatani, of course, southpaw, fantastic left hand, but the way he like didn't really lose a minute of that fight to Akmadaliev in just pure boxing terms. I think maybe did I sort of forget how good an actual boxer he is, because Akmadaliev's an amazing boxer, a world class boxer, and he made him look ordinary in there. So I think I'm not saying I necessarily go fully retract my prediction, although maybe I'm getting that way. But yeah, I think maybe this some people have cited this decline in Inoue as he's gone up the weights, and I think maybe that performance today was a reminder to everyone watching and to Junko Nakatani that he's still, a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no, for sure. No way. 31 and 0 now, 27 stoppages at the age of 32. Well, yeah, look, I just hope it happens. I just feel like what's in a way you can't deny is a fantastic talent, but there's there's something missing from his career, and it's fights that get worldwide attention. It's fights against massive names. And for someone who's kind of in this spoken in the same breath as Terence Crawford, Alexander Usyk, I just don't think his resume kind of compares as much, which happens when you're in the lighter weights, perhaps. But I just think that Nakatani fight really needs to happen.
He doesn't have
Um,
the marquee wins, does he? And yeah, that's the thing. It's the marquee wins.
and yeah, for sure. And I just think, just on general fame as well, I just think Alexander Usyk, in particular, would just kind of get recognised everywhere he goes. Whereas I'm not sure you could say the same. Just my opinion. I'm not sure you could say the same about Inoue. I just think Inoue could walk around London or New York. I'm not convinced you're going to get many people stopping and thinking, bloody hell, that's not Inoue. Whereas I just feel like with Usyk, you would do. That's just, yeah, I could be wrong there, but in terms of being a household name, I don't think he's up there as much. What? I'm I'm not convinced he'll ever move up to featherweight, by the way. I think he might stay put, might wait for Bam Rodriguez as well. But I just think I wonder if Inoue, who started his career at light flyweight, is kind of looking at featherweight and looking at, say, an Espinoza, who's kind of significantly taller than him, significantly longer reach than him. Fighters that kind of just punch considerably harder, which they will do at that higher weight. What's your thoughts, Danny? Because I'm not convinced we're ever going to see him move up. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's a good point you make because there's obviously very tough fights at featherweight, but they're not particularly big fights, are they? And you would say that a Bam Rodriguez fight, who's expected to potentially move up to 118 pounds soon, would be bigger in a year and a half's time than Nick Ball or Espinoza. So yeah, I'm not so sure as well. Now that you mention it, hadn't actually occurred to me, but when you said it does make a lot of sense when you factor in that the bigger fights are probably guys coming up as opposed to guys who knew would be coming up to chase.
Yeah, for sure. And I think thinking about it, I wouldn't surprise me if Inoue, I don't want to say cherry picks, but just basically goes after the weakest world champion at featherweights in maybe the final fight of his career, just to win another world title in another fight. But yeah, look, at the moment, it looks like he's going to stay put at super bantamweight for at least two more fights and defend his belts. Final question from me to you, Danny. We mentioned Bam Rodriguez there. One of the most exciting fighters in the world, top 10 pound for pound list at a very young age. Do you think that's a fight down the line that could happen, or do you think it just could be a case of those guys those guys just miss each other? What are your thoughts? Because there's still kind of yeah, there's still two weight divisions between them at the moment, but Rodriguez the best at super flyweight, possibly by some margin. Inoue the best at super bantamweight by some margin. Rodriguez, we're expecting him to fight at bantamweight at some point in 2026. So it's maybe not unrealistic to suggest it, but what are your thoughts?
Under my head, I would say they will probably miss each other. Bam Rodriguez, he seems to be interested in like unifying at weights and not just like when one world title jump, one world title jump. And I think I get the impression in maybe have 2, 3 years. It could happen. It could happen. I would love it to happen. It'd be a fantastic fight. It's probably two of the three best fighters in the lower weights, but definitely two of the three best fighters in the lower weights. Both represented and worked with Mr. Honda from Japan, so makeable in that sense. Gun to my head, and I don't know if this is me being pessimistic. It's a no, but I would absolutely love to see it. Love to see it.
Yeah. Well, look, I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong. I hope we do. I would love to see it, but we'll see what happens. As I said, I really hope we get some big fights for Naoya Inoue. He fights regularly as well, which is what you want with these top guys. And it's kind of we've seen Usyk and Crawford been inactive in their careers the last couple of years, but you can't say that for Inoue. But we really want to see him in some big fights in the next couple of years. Danny, it's been a long, busy weekend, so I'll let you go. But great to speak to you, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
You too, mate. Thank you.